What's up, guys and gals? It's Kevin back with another one. This is one. This one kind of gets me a little fired up, but Gun Owners of America. It's a Second Amendment organization out of Knoxville, not too awful far from where I'm at. But they fight a lot of these gun control cases, all the way up to the Supreme Court. And I seen this one this morning. They put out yesterday. The Supreme Court had ruled on a case, bypassing pretty much the Fourth Amendment. Um, says that we're supposed to be secure in our person's papers, uh, person, places, papers, and effects, or something to that effect. Means they can't just search your vehicle, they can't just come in your home, they can't do a lot of things without a warrant. They're not supposed to be. But they've got something that's called community caretaking that they're pretty much using to bypass our Fourth Amendment. And it's bull. But, excuse me, they say that if they think it's an emergency or something like that, they can then they're no longer pretty much they're no longer police. They're caretakers or community caretakers or something to that effect. Which is it's still BS because once they bust in your door, they're back to being cops. It might not be quite as bad if they couldn't, you know, they were barred from any charges when they do that, but they're not. It's just a workaround the Fourth Amendment to where they can get inside your home. Is all it is. And the Supreme Court's good at giving the cops and federal agents and any agents of the government workarounds and cutouts, like qualified immunity. Qualified immunity to me is unconstitutional. They should not get off when they break the law or do something, violate somebody's rights or whatever. They should not have qualified immunity to hide behind. We're held accountable for all of our actions. They should be held accountable for all of theirs. I see it constantly. It's almost a daily thing where they go and they raid a house, but they go to the wrong house. They throw flashbangs through the window and it lands in your baby's crib right next to your baby and blows up. Bust the doors in, the windows in, all this other stuff. Drill out locks, all kinds of stuff that I've seen. And then come to find out they're at the wrong house. And you think, well, then they should have to pay to fix what they damage. They don't. They just tell you to turn it in on your homeowner's insurance, which of course is then going to raise your homeowner's insurance. You're not the one that messed up. You're not the one that damaged all this stuff. They did. But they're not held responsible for it. If they're doing a police pursuit and they wreck and hit your vehicle, they don't. They're not responsible for fixing your vehicle. You have to turn it in on your insurance and pay extra on your insurance because of it. If they arrest you and it's a wrongful arrest, that's constantly a big thing with the cops is they arrest somebody because they failed to ID. Well, unless they have reasonable articulable suspicion that you committed a crime, you don't have to give them your ID. And they're all the time arresting people for that when they have no legal basis to do it. It usually gets dropped or thrown out, but they keep doing it because they're never held accountable for it, along with a million other things. And it's just a never-ending deal, guys. Just like on the other video I said, this government does not work for us anymore. It does not protect us. It's, you know, pretty much you lose your rights. All they have to do is holler officer safety, you lose your rights. It's supposed to be, the government is supposed to be engineered and geared towards the rights of the people. But it's not. They've done away with that. You know, it's like in one video I seen the other day, probably end up doing a video on it. It actually happened not too awful far from where I live. Macon County, Tennessee is called out over a little neighbor dispute or whatever, but the guy that they ended up arresting was mowing his grass, and he had a gun on his property. And the one sergeant, he takes his gun off, tells him he's going to take his gun off of him because it's just an officer safety thing. Well, I don't give a shit about his officer safety. I care about my Second Amendment right, and the fact that I'm on my property, I'm carrying a gun on my property. You're not taking my gun. Now this guy let him do it. He let him know that he was against it, but he let him do it. And after the cop takes the guy's gun, he says he's all for citizens having guns and carrying guns. That he's not out to take anybody's gun away from him as he's holding the guy's gun in his hand. Well, what the hell do you think he just done? But they keep just chipping away and chipping away and chipping away at people's rights. And they only do it because we allow it. They keep us busy fighting each other over black and white and brown and, illegal immigrants and just all kinds of stuff that they keep us fighting each other over. Because as long as we're fighting each other, we're not fighting them. We got to stop fighting each other, and we got to start taking it to them. Because they're the ones that's really the problem. And we got to get rid of these corrupt judges, politicians, sheriffs, police, whoever. I'm kind of pissed off with all of them right now, from the president down. None of them are working for us, and we got to do something to change that. We got to do something to take our power back, and that's what this channel's for. And I hope y'all will keep joining me to do this, and like, subscribe, share the video, get this out there. We need to build this community and start taking the fight to them, and try to fight it the peaceful way. But if we don't get something done soon, then there's not going to be a peaceful way. And I really don't want it to come to that, but they may not give us another option. But let's check out this video, and we'll see what's going on. And leave comments down below. Like, subscribe, share the video. If you want to support the channel, you got the little PayPal chime and Cash App down here at the bottom. And I appreciate anything anybody does to support me. Alright. Let's Let's get into this.
The Supreme Court just issued its final decision in Case v. Montana, a Fourth Amendment case involving a warrantless entry into a gun owner's home. We covered the details of the case in an earlier video. But now the Supreme Court's decision has left gun owners with little legal protection if cops decide to become a community caretaker. Today on Law and Ammo, I'm going to discuss SCOTUS's latest verdict and what it means for the future of the Fourth Amendment and gun rights in the United States. The Supreme Court just ruled against gun owners and their Fourth Amendment rights, dramatically expanding the power of law enforcement to break into your home. Thanks to the recent decision in Case v. Montana, the Supreme Court has blessed warrantless home intrusions for what it calls community caretaking purposes. In fact, because they are acting under the auspices of do-gooders and not for law enforcement purposes, the court held that police do not even need probable cause of any crime to break down your front door with a battering ram. And so today we're going to take a look at what happened, the Supreme Court's decision, and what it means for gun owners. I'm Phil, and you're watching Law and Ammo. While this recent Supreme Court case may have been decided with an outcome in which we disagree, there's another case we cannot afford to lose. That's GOA's one big beautiful lawsuit against the National Firearms Act. While short-barreled firearms, AOWs, and suppressors are now tax-free thanks to President Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill Act, the NFA's registration requirements remain. So please consider becoming a member at gunowners.org or donate to help us dismantle the National Firearms Act. Now back to the video. A few months ago on this channel, we covered Case v. Montana at length. I'll refresh your memory for the case, but for those who want all of the details, I'll link to our previous video in the description. Case v. Montana centers around the warrantless entry of a Montana man's home, a man named William Trevor Case. Montana police were conducting a so-called welfare check on Case. Then after much back and forth, the police decided to enter his home without a warrant before shooting him in the arm and arresting him. So what precipitated this welfare check and the warrantless entry? Case was known to the police and earlier in the evening had called his ex-girlfriend and allegedly threatened self-harm. And apparently he told his ex-girlfriend that if she called the police to his house, he would harm them. Ignoring his warnings, Case's ex-girlfriend called the police. In response, 4 officers went to Case's home. As it turns out, a few of the responding officers were familiar with Case, having dealt with him in the past. They viewed this as a hollow threat, saying that he had a history of mental health issues and he had previously attempted suicide by cop. After arriving and finding the house locked, the officers stood outside for nearly 40 minutes, shining flashlights into the home and announcing themselves. Officers reported seeing an empty handgun holster and notepad, but no sign of Case himself. Then after all this time had passed, the officers declared that a sudden emergency existed. As their rationalization went, since they saw a pad of paper on the table, they could assume that this meant Case was writing a suicide note. So now convinced by a pad of paper that Case had harmed himself, the police went to their cars, retrieved their ballistic shields, drew their guns, and made entry into the home. That is, they battered down the front door. Their justification was that they were just engaging in community caretaking, because after all, people with your best interest in mind always bring ballistic shields and guns to protect themselves. After conducting a sweep of the home, one officer found Case hiding in a closet. Upon finding Case, an officer noticed a, quote, dark object near Case's waist. Assuming this to be a gun, the officer fired a shot which struck Case in the arm. As fate would have it, that dark spot turned out not to be a gun. But the officers later found a handgun in a laundry basket nearby. Having fully caretaken of the community by shooting the home's unarmed occupant, Case was transported to the local hospital to treat his police-inflicted gunshot wound. By then, objecting to his caretaking, Case sued. And his case made it all the way to the Supreme Court, presenting the court with this question: whether law enforcement may enter a home without a search warrant based on less than probable cause that an emergency is occurring, or whether the emergency aid exception requires probable cause. Translation to all of this: Can the police break down your door without a warrant or any probable cause at all based on the thinnest justification that something inside might be wrong? Believing that the Fourth Amendment prohibits this sort of outrageous activity, we at Gun Owners of America filed an amicus brief in support of Case. And even though this case involved a tense situation and threats of harm, we can see how an adverse ruling could undermine the Fourth Amendment's protections for all of us. And so we argued to the court that the Fourth Amendment's original basis in property rights should control this case. Police trespassed on Case's private property, and so they should have obtained a warrant, plain and simple. Unfortunately, the courts below had not focused on property rights, but instead on whether the police were reasonable. And that standard of reasonableness is based on a federal judge's idea of what is and is not reasonable. As GOA explained it, if reasonableness is the standard by which the Fourth Amendment is to be interpreted, then the Fourth Amendment ceases to have any objective meaning. And to be clear, experience has shown us time and again that judges are often some of the most unreasonable people in the country. Not to mention, what good is the Fourth Amendment protection against unreasonable searches and seizure if the government can assert some vague community caretaking role and burst into your home with guns drawn for your own good? Let's play for you Case's lawyer's opening statement outlining our point perfectly.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Justice, and may it please the court. This court has never allowed state officials to force their way into someone's home without a warrant or probable cause. It should not start now. There is no liberty interest more deeply rooted in the Fourth Amendment than the sanctity of the home. The court has long recognized that physical entry of the home is the chief evil against which the wording of the Fourth Amendment is directed. And the facts here well illustrate what's at stake with such entries. The police entered Trevor Case's home without permission, a warrant, or even probable cause, and they ended up shooting him in his own house.
His argument seems pretty reasonable to me, but apparently the Supreme Court didn't agree. In a remarkable 9-0 unanimous decision, the Supreme Court ruled against Case, holding that, given the circumstances, the police did not need a warrant to enter his home. And so what does all this mean in practice? Well, according to the Supreme Court, police do not need probable cause to break into a gun owner's home without warrants and just shoot them. In a unanimous opinion written by Justice Kagan, she outlined the court's reasoning. In the 2006 case, Brigham City v. Stewart, this court held that the police officers may enter a home without a warrant if they have a objectively reasonable basis for believing that someone inside needs emergency assistance. The question presented is whether that standard means that officers must have probable cause for the intrusion as they typically would when investigating a crime. We hold it does not. To make matters worse, Justice Sotomayor chimed in with her own concurring opinion, and her position is truly bonkers. The risk of escalation by warrantless police entry is also heightened by the prevalence of firearms in nearly half of America's households. Thus, she claimed, police may employ more forceful tactics when they know a firearm is in the house. Hold on a second. Is Justice Sotomayor insinuating that police have more legal leeway to use force if someone is merely known to possess firearms? A warrantless entry into somebody's home and shooting them is already tyrannical, but justifying that use of force just because the victim happened to be a gun owner, that is unacceptable. Given the fact that gun owners are statistically more law-abiding than the average citizen, makes this statement by Sotomayor even more confusing. Treating gun owners as presumptively violent criminals is dangerous, to say the least. If the Supreme Court sees this warrantless invasion and shooting as community caretaking, I think I can speak for most gun owners when I say, please stop caring for me. With its Case decision, the Supreme Court has created a lot of problems for itself and the country. Armed with increasingly broad exceptions to the Fourth Amendment's warrant requirement, law enforcement mission creep always results in the exception swallowing the rule. Meaning, if all the police must do is articulate some non-credible suspicion that someone inside may need help, they increasingly will rely on such claims to avoid obtaining a warrant before breaking down front doors. Oh, this flashbang? Well, that's for your own good, comrade, to keep you safe or something. Worse still, governments given the power to violate constitutional rights at will rarely give that power up voluntarily. The excerpt from Justice Sotomayor's separate concurrence, while not the holding of the entire court, reveals a lot about how some justices view gun owners, and how far some of them are willing to go in hollowing out the Fourth and Second Amendments. Giving the police more power to violate the Fourth Amendment is not what the founders intended, and we'll do everything in our power to help correct this decision in a future case. I'm Phil with Law and Ammo. Thanks for watching.
Yep, that's it, guys. All they gotta do is say they think there's an emergency and bust into your house. And they can get away with it. I don't know what the hell was going through these judges' minds for a 9-0 decision like that to practically just shred the Fourth Amendment. Our Constitution is supposed to be there to limit the government, so it limits what they can and can't do and protects the people and their rights, our rights. The government can't just add exceptions in whenever they feel like it. You know, like I said, this community caretaking, nowhere in the Fourth Amendment does it say anything about community caretaking or anything like that. It actually says that, you know, roundabout way, it pretty much says that without a warrant, they can't come into your house, they can't search your vehicle, they can't do anything like that. They can't just walk up to you on the street and demand to show your ID. You know, they keep giving them workarounds and stuff on all this, like searching your vehicle. All they have to do is say, I smell weed. And they have the right to search your vehicle. Or they bring out a dog that's trained to fake alert. Bring the dog out, walk it around your vehicle, and just make a certain signal or whatever, and then the dog alerts, they have a right to search your vehicle. This stuff, all this is unconstitutional. All gun laws are unconstitutional. The Second Amendment clearly says shall not be infringed. So the NFA, all gun laws are unconstitutional. I'm a liberty absolutist. I'm a Second Amendment absolutist. But I've done a lot of research on all this stuff, dug into it. A lot of people have, and we've let this go so long that it's going to be an uphill battle to get it all straightened out and get all our liberties and freedoms back. Because, you know, like the tags on your car, your driver's license, all that stuff, you're only supposed to have all that stuff if you drive commercially. Driving a semi-truck or some kind of vehicle for a business. Just driving your vehicle and going to the town or the grocery store or going to work or whatever, you're not supposed to have to do all that. And there's court rulings that shows that from way back in the day that says you don't have to do that. No forced insurances. You know, the whole forced insurance deal, that's not to protect people from accidents where somebody doesn't have insurance. They want you to think that. That's not what it is. What it is these people own these insurance companies. They lobby Congress to make it to where they force insurance on people by law. So now you have to have it or you're breaking the law. Okay? So now they get to charge whatever they want. As you notice, when that forced insurance law went into effect, everybody's insurance just went up. Because they're not having to compete and try to get your business like they did before. Now, you have to have it. So, you might have a little bit of competition in there between companies to get your business, but it's not going to be much because they know you have to have it. If not, you break the law. You're in trouble. You lose your license or whatever. But like I said, this is not community caretaking. And you know, the Supreme Court had made a ruling a while back that the police, they were not legally bound to pretty much to care about your safety. They're not required to protect you. Which, I mean, if you're not going to do that, then why would you want to be a cop as far as the job? Because the job of police is to protect the citizens. But if you're going to rule that they're not required to protect you, then why would they make another ruling saying that you know, they can violate the Fourth Amendment to go in your house if it's an emergency? It's always, like I said, this stuff's supposed to be geared towards the people and the protection of the people and their rights. But it's not. It's always geared towards the government. They don't have to protect you, but if they want to use it as an excuse to break into your home without a warrant, they can do that. They can go out and, like I said, raid the wrong house, crash into your car, wrongfully arrest you, whatever, in violation of the Constitution, and not be held accountable for it. It falls on you. They made the mistake, but you got to pay for it. It's just, it's never ending. I mean, it's getting ridiculous. And just because you own a firearm does not make you a criminal. Just because I own a firearm and I carry my gun everywhere I go. I don't care if it's to mow the yard, whatever. I've got my gun. But just because I have my gun doesn't mean that a cop, and I'm out here outside mowing my yard, don't mean a cop can pull up there and jump out and hold me at gunpoint because I have a firearm. It's not against the law to have a firearm. It's not against the law to carry it. In my state, in Tennessee, we have constitutional carry. I don't need a permit. I don't need none of that. I can carry my gun on my hip. I can carry it concealed. I can whatever. But they're criminalizing our rights. And I'm getting sick and tired of it. They're taking rights from people. Just like I think if you've committed a crime, and you paid your debt, you know, you went to jail, you served your time, whatever you were supposed to do was you did it, and you're off probation, off parole, whatever. I think you should get your rights back. If you're not fit to be back in society and have your rights back, then you shouldn't be out here. I know J.D. DeLay, he he's done everything. He's been out and been clean, been doing a good job for a long time. He should have his rights back. He should be allowed to carry a firearm. Jelly Roll lives in Tennessee like I do. We don't have that yet to where they're giving their rights back, but he's out of jail. He served his time. He's off parole, paper, probation, whatever. He should get his rights back. We got to start raising hell with our government, local, state, federal, all of it, and letting them know that we're tired of their shit. Start voting these people out. Don't vote for somebody just because they're red or blue or whatever. Vote for somebody that's going to go in there and do the job and do it right for the betterment of you and your family. That's going to do what needs to be done to make your life better. Because it's everywhere. It's every state. It's local, state, federal. The whole country is covered with corrupt, evil politicians that's doing things they shouldn't be doing. A lot of pedophiles in the government. A lot of traitors and sellouts in our government. It's just this country's it's going down fast in a fiery inferno, and I don't know if we're going to be able to pull the nose up and save it, or if it's going to crash into the ground. But all I know is we're going to have to really get on it now, because if we don't, we definitely ain't going to have a chance. And God knows I voted for Trump 2016, 2020, and in 2024. In 2016, his first term, he done a good job for the most part. That's why I voted for him, put him back in there this time, just like a lot of other people. But Donald Trump has been a flaming bag of dog shit this time. And I don't know where it's going to go. But I do know he's fighting awful hard on that Epstein files for a reason. And he's doing everything but working for the people. A lot of people are in a bad way right now. And we gotta get this government straightened back out and get it back where it should be, working for the people, because it's not working for us. It's not working for any of us. We know who they're working for. Our greatest ally. But that's all I had, guys. Just if you got any comments or anything, just like I said, leave them down below. Like the video, share the video, subscribe if you're not subscribed. Let's help build this channel up. Take this fight to these people, and get this government back where it should be for the people. I appreciate anybody that can help support the channel. Got the QR code things up there. Got the things for them down here on the Chiron thing. If you can support the channel, I'd really appreciate it. I'm trying to get this up and going So I want this channel to be a knockdown, drag out fist fight with the government to get this government back for us, the people. They're supposed to work for us, be accountable to us, and they're not. They're trying to lord over us like they're the rulers and we're the peasants. And I'll be damned, it don't work that way. So as long as I can, I'm going to fight them. I'm going to fight them for me and my family. I'm going to fight them for you and your family. And hopefully you will be here to help me along the way. Like I said, if you can support the channel, I'd really appreciate it. At least like, subscribe, comment, get these algorithms pushing these videos out. This channel's not monetized yet, so you know, anything that I get would be what y'all are donating till I can get monetized. But you know, join the channel, join the fight, help me out, and I'll fight for you. But that's all I got, guys. I appreciate it. God bless y'all. Like I say, like, subscribe, share the video, comment. If you can donate, I appreciate it. And y'all have a good rest of your day. God bless you.